Well, good evening. It's raining out, so I figured I may as well talk to you guys because I can't go outside and play in the rain. Besides, it's night. I might get hit by a car. Incidentally, I'm going in for cataract surgery, so no matter how badly you may look to me now, after I have the surgery, you guys will probably look pretty good. One can hope. So, uh, I've been on a tear on the Republican Party recently, and I don't back down from anything I say. And if you disagree with something I say, that's fine. But please don't make snide remarks. Discuss the issues, discuss the facts. And I will stand by everything I say and stand by the facts, just like I do when I'm in a courtroom. I don't just say things because they sound good. I don't just pass off sound bites or conclusions. I like to talk about actual facts. So this latest fiasco, and it's incident. Let me digress. Let me say something nice about Trump, because when the guy does something which I think may be right, then I'm going to say so. But he always screws it up somehow. But he was talking about this thing in Ukraine, and he was actually saying, I really want to get in there and stop the killing, and maybe we can work it out. Nobody else did anything before. At least we've got some dialogue going. And he's right. And I think if you can get people talking and maybe work out their differences so we can stop killing each other over nothing, then it might be a better planet for a change. And we should be well past. World War II should have taught us a lesson. Well past solving things and allowing other people to solve things through force and helping other people solve things through force. So I agree with him. But then he couldn't help himself. Then he's got to make a smart-ass dig at Joe Biden. Constantly doing that. And well, if it hadn't been for Joe Biden, none of this would have happened in the first place, which is ridiculous. So every time I think, well, maybe Trump's not going to be so bad, he does something that makes me want to just slap him. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this thing with Elon Musk ordering everybody to, over the weekend, give him a list of all their accomplishments. This goes to a more fundamental issue, and that is how Republicans versus Democrats look at the federal government. And this really goes back to, it started with Benjamin Harrison, who was my great-grandfather's next-door neighbor. When he was president, he signed the income tax law. Most people don't know that. They think he was just an arch-conservative. But the real battle over the role of government versus business, and it's always government versus special interests, big money, that really goes back to a battle within the Republican Party. And that was mainly started with Sherman, General Sherman's baby brother, Senator Sherman, introduced the Sherman Antitrust Act that we still have in place today. I've litigated that many times, including at the United States Supreme Court. I know a little bit about that. And so that was what got the thing going, because you had this battle between the Republicans that were kind of owned by the Rockefeller, Carnegie, Mellon, Frick, Carnegie, that whole wing of the big business that wanted monopolies. And Teddy Roosevelt, when he took over for McKinley, was a political pal or friend or ally of Sherman, and he started vigorously attempting to enforce the antitrust laws. And that was the big split between those people who saw the government as a force for good and those who saw the government as interfering in businesses' ability to do their job, which is to make money. That's when that split first occurred. And unfortunately, when Teddy Roosevelt didn't run for a second term, Taft took over, and Taft was basically bought and paid for by these special interests. And that's when the Republican Party really got its hooks into the big business got their hooks into the Republican Party. And it's been that way ever since. That's why you get these huge tax cuts for the wealthiest people who don't need them, which are, again, driving our national debt and could ruin this country. Stop defending Republicans when it comes to tax cuts. Please. They're going to destroy this country. And the idea that, well, look at all the we need savings. The government spends too much money. The government needs to be reined in. The government needs to be run like a business. No. Let's get that straight right now. The purpose of a business is to maximize profits. The purpose of the government is to provide services to its people, which includes keeping an eye on companies that are making money improperly, which includes violating the antitrust laws. So they're different objectives altogether. So much of what the government does in terms of, for example, basic research is not intended to create a profit and is not going to create a profit. Much of it is beneficial down the line. A lot of what the government does is hand out money. I think maybe too much. But those are among the things the government does. But the main thing the government does is to enforce things like the antitrust laws through the Justice Department. Those are proper roles of government. And you have an antagonism toward that role of government by the business side of the Republican Party, which views all of these things as interference with their God-given right to make as much money as they can. And you've got this myth that's put out there by now Elon Musk and Trump and the Republicans generally, which is always that the government is terribly run, horribly inefficient, waste, fraud, abuse all over the place. They just say that without any evidence of it. Now, maybe there is some. I'm sure there's some, because no organization that big can't be run without some waste, particularly where the Pentagon is concerned, because they spend an awful lot of money. But it's like this is an ideological tug of war. It has really nothing to do with actual efficiency. And so when Musk comes out there and says, you've got the weekend to report directly to me, like he's their boss, which he isn't, to tell me what you've accomplished in the last week so I can decide whether you should all be wholesale fired, it shows he just doesn't know what he's doing. And how could he? He can walk in there like this with whatever background he has and know what all these different government agencies do, how efficient they are, what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be doing it. These things are service industries. They're not industry, but the function of these government agencies is to provide a service to the people, not to make money from the people. But, as I've said before, get out a pie chart. Look to see where the money goes, and look to see how much of you can get all the savings you want, and look at how that's the savings, even if you eliminated these agencies that they're going after, like they were public enemy number one. Look at how much they take from those agencies if they eliminated them altogether versus the $4.5 trillion tax cut that the Republicans are trying to push right now, even as we speak. So, and right now there's people was getting a kick out of watching these town halls with Republican congressmen where they're having to answer to their constituents who are madder than hell, and they're not buying this stuff that, we just have to shut the government down because it's inefficient. They're looking for the government to do things like the post office. I don't want to get into that dispute, but he's talking about getting rid of the post office. Yeah, so that's the function of government, and it's appropriate to look at it. And if there's too much waste or fraud or whatever, and this thing can be streamlined, fine, that's great. Nobody should be opposed to that. But you don't go in with the idea that the government is essentially bad and that it's not being run like a business, and we need to shut it down and fire people and terrorize people and make people wonder whether or not they're going to get the benefits to which they're entitled. They're going after Medicaid. I'm not going to tell you the experience I had with my mother with Medicaid, but thank God for Medicaid. Medicare. Hell, I'm getting Medicare. I remember when Jack Kennedy was first introduced Medicare, and the Republicans just blistered him, ripped him to shreds. Now, of course, they're all happy to have it. But again, Medicaid is not supposed to be making profits. Medicare is not to make profits. Those are things to provide services to help the people, the folks, the folk, as Bill O'Reilly used to say. So it's just when you hear them talk about these things, focus. Get a pie chart out. Everybody who was interested in this at all should just get a government spending pie chart out and take a look and see how much goes for defense, how much goes for Social Security, how much goes for Medicare, which is part of Social Security, how much goes for the Justice Department, how much goes to the FBI. You'll be shocked at the tiny sliver of federal money that is spent on everything other than the military and Social Security. You'll be shocked. And a huge portion of the money that's now being spent is going to pay off the interest on the national debt. And eventually that's going to be at a point where half of our income is going to be going to pay interest. You can't run a country that way. You certainly couldn't run a business that way. They've got to deal with this debt. Bill Clinton did it. He got it down to $300 billion and it was on its way out. Dwight Eisenhower did it. It can be done, but you can't do it when you're slashing trillions of dollars, taking trillions of dollars of income away from the government. In the meantime, saving pennies on some sort of symbolic effort of going after the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and firing anybody who wants it. And I don't agree with diversity, equity, and inclusion either. But come on, let's talk about real dollars and real cents, real money versus the theory of real money. So do me a favor, just get a chart out and take a look at it so that you're educated when you hear these people talking about government spending, waste, fraud, abuse, you can take a look and say, well, that's about covers to about almost an invisible sliver of the pie chart. Let's look at where the rest of the money is going and why in the hell are we cutting taxes by $4.5 trillion at a time when our debt we're in trillions of dollars in debt. That's just going to get added to the debt. We can't afford to keep doing that, folks. So that's my rant for today, and I'm sure some of you are, not all of you, are sick of it, and I'm sick of doing it. But until we get this country turned around in a place where it's being responsible, and we're not going to do that as long as we keep letting Republicans stay in power, because they show themselves time and time again incapable of being responsible when it comes to running the government. And I don't like saying it, and I wish it weren't true. I only say it because that's been my observation over these, well, how old am I now? Almost 30 years old. So for almost 20 years I've been seeing this. Can you believe how old I'm getting? Cataracts.